Hello everyone, you are listening to Scenecraft. From opening shots to long takes and epilogues, we examine our favorite scenes from cinema here on the podcast. I'm Cody, here with my fellow stunt doubles,
Mark
and Connor.
You can find Scenecraft on most social media platforms at Scenecraft Podcast for the latest news on the show. Today, we will be discussing The Fall Guy, directed by David Leitch, and at the end of the episode, we'll be joined by Stunt Coordinator Keir Beck to discuss all the stunt work on the film. But as usual, let's begin with our brief What We've Been Watching segment, Quick Takes.
Speak quickly.
Quickly, thank you.
Quickly, come on. Hurry up, quicker.
Way quicker.
Okay, I'll say it fast.
So, what have you guys been watching recently?
I guess I'll start us off with Unfrosted and just get it out of the way. It was directed by Jerry Seinfeld this year, 2024. The logline reads, in 1963 Michigan, business rivals Kellogg's and Post compete to create a cake that could change breakfast forever. So, where to start with this one? God, I guess I laughably called dibs on this one.
Yeah, I love how you call dibs as if Connor and I would kind of contest that.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't know why you took that upon yourself. But.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I've kind of become that unofficial in-house correspondent for these corporate origin story movies, such as Blackberry, Beanie Bubble, Air, all of these. So I guess it was just kind of up my alley.
Happy to have you take that role. Thank you.
Yeah, doing the work. Let me start off by saying something positive. And I will say that Unfrosted distinguishes itself from the other movies that I just listed in that it takes a farcical and satirical approach to the origin story of the Pop-Tart. And Jerry Seinfeld is a big name in the comedy sphere, and he's always had a very public obsession with all things cereal and breakfast. I'm sure you guys remember that from Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I guess going into it, I thought, what could go wrong with this? Well, in my opinion, it turns out a lot. Sadly, I was not a fan of Unfrosted. I found it to be a largely unfunny experience, despite some of the biggest names in comedy right now. The humor just felt sanitized, and a majority of the punchlines fell flat, but in a way that it made it seem like Seinfeld found the jokes to be more clever than they actually were. I was actually taken aback by the number of misfires that I truly began to wonder if I was the wrong audience for this. After all, I've kind of grown accustomed to the Nathan Fielders, the Tim Robinsons of our day. And so I actually reached out to my dad and I asked if this landed on him any better. And to my surprise, he only made it 15 minutes into the movie.
Wow.
Before calling it quits.
Yeah.
And so for the integrity of the quick take, I knew I had to finish this. And so from the 15 minutes he watched, he echoed a lot of my critiques, and he said the jokes seemed obvious and forced. And we both agreed that the movie kind of suffered by not having a straight man to ground the story, which is kind of ironic because that's what Jerry Seinfeld was on his own show.
Right.
Interestingly, I will say that there are a group of people who are defending this one online. So it could be a matter of comedic tastes. And I will say, as a fan of the Seinfeld series and an enjoyer of the Pop-Tarts in my youth,
Bell Pop-Tarts. Wow.
the Pop-Tarts, I'm proper here.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but feel like this was just a missed opportunity. If you're curious, watch the first 15 minutes, and if you feel like this isn't for you, then you should just stop then. Unfortunately, I would not recommend Unfrosted, which is now playing on Netflix.
Oh, boy. Well, thanks for taking one for the team on this one.
Oh, wait a minute. We got a reveal here. Everybody that's listening, nobody can see what's going on here, but Cody is very gently unwrapping a Pop-Tart.
Oh, and he's
and it
taking
looks
a
to
bite.
be a cherry flavor, and it's frosted. How's it taste, Cody?
Bad.
Just like the movie.
I bought it specifically for this review, and it's not good.
No way.
Oh, man.
Yuck.
And he's spitting it out. Okay. Worth it for the gag. That's
Yeah.
a commitment.
Moving on.
All right.
All right, let's change things up a little bit. I also watched The Contestant, which was directed by Claire Titley in 2023. The logline reads, a documentary surrounding a Japanese reality TV star that was left naked in a room for more than a year, tasked with filling out magazine sweepstakes to earn food and clothing.
Whoa.
Are you guys familiar with this documentary or the TV show that it's based on?
No, actually. I haven't heard of this.
No, I mean, I'm familiar with the concept that it's kind of old boy-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know this for sure, but I have a feeling that this actually may have inspired some of Old Boy.
Oh.
And there was a
Got it.
Fresh Air segment on NPR that covered this, quite a few years back. So some people may be familiar with this, but let me take you back in time to 1998 in Japan, which was ground zero for reality TV shows. And just to kind of get that mindset, this was before Survivor, this was before Big Brother, and even The Truman Show.
Okay.
And the start of it all was this TV series called Denpa Shonen in Japan that depicted contestants participating in these brutal challenges, one of which this documentary dedicates its entire focus on. So, kind of like the logline alluded to, essentially this movie revolves around this gentleman who's nicknamed Nasubi, and he was placed into a room, stripped naked, and he was left with only a rack of magazines and supplies to mail out envelopes. And the premise of the show was to see if he could live off sweepstake prizes alone until he reached 1 million yen worth of prizes. So basically anything he ate or wore for clothing had to be won from a sweepstakes.
Wow.
And this is all while he was completely cut off from the external world.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. And then on top of this, he was also unaware that the footage that they were collecting was being aired weekly on this television program, and it gained a pretty big cultural following. So I think it goes without saying that this premise for a TV show is unimaginably cruel.
Yeah.
I thought the documentary, though, was incredibly well made because it features interviews with Nasubi, his family, and then also the creator of the television show, who is almost comically mirroring Ed Harris's performance in The Truman Show.
Oh, really?
It's almost eerie how similar they are. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Does he wear a black turtleneck and a
Like a little beret or
a beret?
I mean, just about. That's almost worth watching it alone. But
Okay.
as an audience, we gain insight from all these different perspectives, and it really just leaves you with something to think about, especially when it comes to the ethics of reality television. I'd strongly recommend checking out The Contestant on Hulu if this description even remotely interested you.
Yeah, it does. And speaking of the ethics, like an old boy, is he locked in this room?
It's funny you bring that up. So the door was open.
Okay.
He could have left if he wanted to.
Oh.
Nasubi himself has said that he just felt like he committed to this, and so he wanted to see it out. And the crazier part is that there was no real contract either. So
I was going to say, like, why did he even agree to do this in the first place?
Yeah, so he was tricked into thinking it was going to be a challenge similar to what had been on the show before, like hitchhiking a ride all the way through Africa or something. Not something this inhumane. And so,
Wow.
Oh my God. How long was he in there?
I believe it was 18 months.
Holy crap. That's like way longer than I thought.
The documentary itself is a little bit more light on things, but it doesn't shy away from some of the horrors that are taking place from this. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I want to check this out.
Mm-hmm.
what about you, Connor? What have you been watching?
So I have a very French-themed quick takes this week.
Ah.
As the resident Francophile on the show, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I recently signed up for a French class, I was telling you guys, to brush up on my high school French.
Nice.
Wow.
So I'm about a month into the classes, and I've been trying to watch some French movies and just use it as a test to see what I can understand. So the first one I watched is called Le Divorce by James Ivory from 2003. And the logline is French versus American social customs and behaviors are observed in a story about an American visiting her sister and French brother in law and niece in Paris.
Hmm.
This was bad. But you know what? I liked it. You guys know this about me. I have a huge soft spot for anything early 2000s. And honestly, I enjoyed this movie despite some truly baffling stylistic and storytelling choices, which I'll get into a little bit.
Hmm.
So I don't think I've ever seen a movie be so wildly different from its marketing. I saw people saying this on Letterboxd as well. To paint the picture, this was sold as a light and charming early 2000s French rom-com starring Kate Hudson, Naomi Watts, and Glenn Close. But it's actually a pretty dark and weirdly convoluted story that includes a suicide attempt, a violent stalker, and murder,
Whoa.
among other things. It's like the studio just gaslit everyone with a movie poster that screams rom-com, threw some very happy French music at the opening and closing credits, and called it a day. Basically, Naomi Watts and Kate Hudson are American sisters living in Paris. Kate's character is visiting her sister, who's navigating a sudden divorce from her French husband, hence the title. But she becomes romantically involved with a much older family member of the husband in a sugar daddy type of situation. Tonally, it's a complete mess. It can't decide if it's a romantic comedy, a pseudo-legal drama about navigating divorce in a foreign country, or a whimsical depiction of Parisian life versus American life. It also includes many, many scenes dedicated to the appraisal of a prized painting that's a family heirloom. There are just so many weird decisions in this movie. All that being said, it's one of those movies where it's a how did this get made situation in the best way. The goofy choices are entertaining and make me want to know more about how this movie came to exist in its current form. I would not recommend watching Le Divorce because it's not a good movie, but I am glad I saw it.
With all of that said, don't watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of do remember this poster.
Yeah,
I was Googling it while you were speaking, and it does ring a bell.
right. Just like quintessential 2003, happy, smiling people on the cover,
Yeah.
throw a French flag on there.
Call it a day.
Yeah. The next one I watched is The Intouchables or Intouchables by Eric Toledano and Olivier Nakache from 2011. And the logline is, you guys may have heard of this movie before. After he becomes a quadriplegic from a paragliding accident, an aristocrat hires a young man from the projects to be his caregiver. This was definitely the winner of the two French movies I saw. For anyone who's seen Lupin, this stars Omar Sy, who's great in this, as well as Francois Cluzet. Sy won the César for Best Actor for his role in this, and it was a huge cultural phenomenon around the world when it was released. It has spawned several remakes since its release, including an American remake called The Upside, starring Kevin Hart, Bryan Cranston, and Nicole Kidman that came out in 2019. This is based on a true story, and it's a really moving film about unlikely friendship and not writing someone off based on their appearance. Both characters help each other become better versions of themselves as they're pushed outside their comfort zones to care for one another. I also found it to be an educational examination of French social classes that touches on racial disparities in Paris. I've seen some criticism saying it's more or less a French version of movies like Driving Miss Daisy or Green Book that kind of overly simplify racial and cultural tones. I saw traces of that, but I think the human story at the heart of this really elevates it beyond those critiques. At least it did for me. I had a really good time with this movie, and I would recommend checking out The Untouchables, which is available to rent on Apple TV.
So is this actually in French? Are either of these movies in French, or are they both in English?
Both movies are in French with subtitles.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't
Got
that
it.
like why you watched it?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for calling me out, Cody. Well, I mean, I thought so too, but then the first one, it's got Kate Hudson, Naomi Watts, and Glenn Close. I didn't expect them to be speaking French for a whole movie.
there is like a little bit of English spoken between the English family members, but I would
Okay.
say the majority of the film is in French.
Wow. Okay.
How about you, Cody? What have you been watching lately?
Yeah, so for my first quick take, I feel like I'm a little late to the game here, and by the time this comes out, this movie will have already gone out of theaters and onto streaming, actually. So, maybe in its second life, this will still be relevant. But I saw Challengers in theaters, directed by Luca Guadagnino, and this came out just a few weeks ago. The logline reads, Tashi, a former tennis prodigy turned coach, turned her husband Art into a champion. But to overcome a losing streak, Art must face Patrick, his ex-best friend and Tashi's ex-boyfriend, in a high-stakes tennis match.
Mm-hmm.
Intriguing premise, right? Everyone seems to enjoy Guadagnino's films just a little bit more than I do. I've enjoyed them for the most part, but they get rave reviews, and I don't think I'm quite on that level. And I can absolutely concede that he's massively talented and continues to choose meaningful, distinct projects that bring something new to cinema rather than direct something like Madam Web. To me, Challengers is similar to his other films. A lot of people I know and critics seem to really love it, best of the year type of stuff. I liked it. I didn't like it quite as much, even though I see that it's bringing something different to the table. I didn't quite jive with some of the stylistic choices that people are praising, like the soundtrack that feels just one small step beyond propulsive in something like The Social Network and veers kind of into distraction. And then also the repeated buttery slow-mo that often kills the momentum of the tennis play for me. A lot of what I hear about the film is that slow-mo, the sweat dripping, people love it. And Mark, I know you and I have talked about this before, but some of the tennis play in this film kind of felt to me like the scene in Forrest Gump where he's playing ping pong and the ball is very clearly inserted digitally while the actors are just mimicking that movement. I understand a lot of this tennis and training that Zendaya, the whole team put into Challengers was very real, very intense, but I think there were just one too many shots for me of a digital ball just flying down the barrel of the lens.
Okay.
But the film is absolutely worth seeing just for the ensemble dynamic and performances alone, particularly Josh O'Connor's Patrick. He was great. This on-screen love triangle was so fun to watch, and I do think that most fans of the erotic thriller genre, kind of, will have a good time with this, so I would recommend checking out Challengers. Still in theaters, will probably still be out for a little bit, but also coming to streaming very soon.
All right.
And then I've also been watching the limited series called Ripley, written and directed by Steven Zaillian. This came out recently, I think beginning of April. The logline reads, a grifter is drawn into a world of wealth and privilege after taking a unique job in Italy. But to seize the life he wants, he must build a web of lies.
Cool.
Mark, if I'm not mistaken, 1999's The Talented Mr. Ripley is a personal favorite of yours, isn't it?
It's up there. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So good.
It's great. Yeah, I really love that film too, though I personally have not seen it in many years, and I think that's why I was really open to watching this new limited series, just to experience a different interpretation of the 1955 novel without the film casting a long shadow over this new series. I'm a few episodes in. So far, happy to report that Ripley truly carves out its own niche from the source material. It's almost creepily meditative in this observation of the sociopath using very little dialogue all throughout. And writer-director Steven Zaillian, who's written legendary films like Schindler's List, Mission Impossible, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, he has this way of making the series feel simultaneously grounded and yet sort of lofty, working perfectly with expert cinematographer Robert Elswit's black and white imagery in the series. There's a line from the show that represents this well. A character talks about the location they're in feeling like a place from a dream, but becoming even more dreamlike when you wake.
Huh.
So that's kind of how it feels to watch the show, and sometimes that dream even shifts more toward a nightmare. Such cool, thrilling moments. I love everything about this take on the Tom Ripley character. I'd recommend checking out Ripley on Netflix.
Nice.
Really cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this one.
How long are the episodes? Are they 30 minutes or an hour?
I think they're an hour.
Okay.
They're longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Now let's move into our discussion about The Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, among many others.
You got this. You're the one.
Why you gotta say that? Why you gotta say that?
You've done this a million times.
And so have you. You know, you just jinxed it.
You just jinxed
Hey,
it.
Dan, I need to drive it in the car now, please. Hey, the tide's coming up. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Is that Jody?
Yes, it's Jody.
She say something about me?
Stop with your face. Stop it. Stop it. She didn't say anything about you. Get in the car.
The log line for the film reads, "A down-and-out stuntman must find the missing star of his ex-girlfriend's blockbuster film." And a quick reminder that at the end of the episode, we have stunt coordinator Keir Beck joining us for his pro take, so tune into that. And let's start with our spoiler-free section. Mark, what did you think of The Fall Guy?
I had a really good time with The Fall Guy. I saw this movie with my wife in a pretty packed theater, and it definitely added to the experience and the amount of fun overall. I felt like this was the quintessential way to kick off the summer blockbuster season. And director David Leitch's background as a stunt performer and coordinator lends itself perfectly to a movie like this, which basically functions as a love letter to the stunt profession. All too often, the stunt industry is left out of the limelight. And so it was nice to see their role highlighted so essentially in this. And I think it's especially important because the points in the movie where I think it shines the brightest are actually the stunts themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And so it stays true to its name in that way. As an unabashed Gosling fan, I thought he did a great job in this one. His overall charm and chemistry with Emily Blunt really helped carry the narrative along. And even though it's based on a TV show from the 1980s, the movie is different enough from its source material that it almost is kind of considered an original IP at this point, at least in my mind, it kind of is. There's this inherent joy in seeing something semi-original on screen. And so I'm rooting for this one. Connor, what did you think?
Yeah, definitely. I'm right there with you. I had a good time with this too. It was very cool to see a movie where stunt work itself is the driver of the story. We see so many films where stunt sequences are key set pieces that really give the movie its identity. I'm thinking of like John Wick, Mission Impossible, Indiana Jones, James Bond. These movies are all built around stunts. And it was very unique to have incredible stunt sequences and get a better understanding of the work that goes into achieving each one of those stunts by having a stunt performer as the main character. It was very, very cool.
Yeah.
It definitely gave me a better appreciation for stunt performers and honestly how this pretty big gap between how pivotal their role is in bringing these iconic movie moments into our culture versus how anonymous they are within the industry. Like that's a big dilemma.
Yeah.
And I think the film did a great job depicting the realities of that in a pretty fun and honest way. I agree that Gosling was great in this, as was Emily Blunt. I also really enjoyed seeing Aaron Taylor Johnson play a huge, self-important Hollywood jerk. He was really funny in it too. I will say I got a little lost in the plot at some points and had a bit of a hard time keeping up with all the layers to it. It may also be because I went to a 10:45 p.m. showing on Thursday night, opening night with Cody. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know if it needed to be quite as long as it is, but it was a really fun ride regardless. It's solid with a lot of action-packed moments, and it doesn't try to be anything it's not. Cody, what about you?
Yeah, to echo you guys, this was explosive. It was fun. I had a great time watching. If you put all the plot contrivances aside that you were mentioning, Connor, there are so many charismatic, funny people on screen. You get some truly weird decisions that make the film stand above something like the Chris Evans vehicle from last year called Ghosted.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was the meta commentary on the exaggerated fun and games of film set life that gives the Fall Guy a different perspective, introducing a compelling on-screen romance that doesn't work in something like 2023's Ghosted.
Yeah.
I believed that Gosling and Blunt bonded over a mutual passion and excitement for filmmaking. I think we need some of that excitement right now. So,
Yeah.
go check out The Fall Guy in theaters and give it that extra boost that this film deserves.
Definitely.
And really just wanted to emphasize extra shout out here to stunt coordinator Keir Beck, who did a phenomenal job with his whole stunt crew on the film.
Mm-hmm.
Please do tune in to our interview with him toward the end of this episode to really get a good feel for all of the hard work in stunts that went into this. It's really worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and dive into our scene selection for the day, which we're going to call Canon Roll. And as usual, beware of spoilers ahead.
Is there anyone there?
Yes, what do you see?
Spoilers! Right ahead!
Thank you.
Connor, would you like to give us the scene beats, please?
I would love to. So this scene starts approximately 13 minutes into the movie, and it runs for about 8 minutes. Colt, played by Ryan Gosling, arrives on the set of a new sci-fi film in Sydney after a long flight, and right away, he's reunited with his old friend Dan, played by Winston Duke, who is the stunt coordinator for the film. Dan tells him his first major stunt back from his injury is going to be a cannon roll in a stunt car. It's a high-pressure stunt right out of the gate, and Colt worries he'll mess it up in front of Jody, played by Emily Blunt, his ex-girlfriend, who's now the director of this film. The team moves forward with the cannon roll, and Colt pulls it off with a world record 8.5 rolls. Jody comes over to congratulate the stuntman and comes face-to-face with Colt. We're expecting this big romantic moment between the two characters, reconciling, meeting again, but it's a huge surprise to Colt when it turns out that Jody is upset to see him. Colt was under the impression she had specifically requested him for the project, so this discovery really kicks off the film in earnest.
So as we usually like to dig into right at the beginning here, why this scene? In a movie full of amazing stunt work, why the cannon roll scene? And first I want to begin with Mark. What's a cannon roll?
So, we'll have to ask Keir more about this in our interview later, but my understanding is that there's a lot of different mechanisms used to achieve a cannon roll, but the most common one uses air pressure to trigger a device that's underneath the car that causes it to flip.
Got it.
It's almost like a piston.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking of it.
Which is what causes it to flip. It's on like one side of the car.
And it like pops the car up in the air to give it that nice tilt to get it to roll.
I had never heard of this before.
Me either, honestly.
I had heard of it, but I didn't really look into what it meant. I just figured it was a term.
Yeah. Oh, cannon roll. Right.
Yeah. So this movie has a lot of meta qualities to it. There's this fictional movie called Metal Storm at the heart of the story that the cast in this film is working on. And in this particular scene, the Metal Storm crew are trying to break the world record for the most cannon rolls in a film. And by doing so, they not only broke the record within the world of the movie, but also in the real life movie industry as well. The previous record was held by Casino Royale with 7 rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was very cool to get that inside look at what it takes to break a world record in the preparation of these stunts. So, like you said, doing it in a meta way, we see Colt being a little apprehensive, a little nervous about trying to pull off this kind of stunt, like especially a world record breaking stunt.
Yeah.
And he starts making excuses, talking about the sand density not being right, talking about how it might affect the tire control, basically saying like, we should just, not do it now and do it when it's sunrise to shoot day for night, and like just getting a lot of inside jokes with like the world of film and filmmaking. It was very fun.
Right.
I love when he turns to the water and he's like, is that a king tide?
Yeah.
We can't do this. We can't do this.
Yeah, it's a no-go.
But there's a relatability too, because he's obviously nervous. He hasn't done a stunt since his injury. And so,
right.
like you mentioned, Connor, to go from, this, I'm sure, traumatizing stunt, going back into the world of stunts with this one where you're going to break a record, I would definitely be apprehensive too.
Oh, yeah. And I think they did a nice job capturing that nervousness too. Like it's all happening very, very fast. He's just getting thrown into this stunt like right after he lands from the plane, which does not sound safe. He seems pretty jet lagged, but nevertheless manages to like pull it off pretty perfectly aside from breaking that one camera.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like you mentioned, Connor, he didn't even have time to get a cup of coffee. And here he is like whisked onto set and put into a car without really having an understanding of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Question for you guys. They're making a sci-fi film here on the beaches of Sydney in Australia. And what does it look like to you? What kind of combination of movies does it seem like based on what we're seeing in terms of the design of the cars, the costumes, the props that are being checked out in this scene? Did it remind you of anything?
Yeah, somebody watched Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes.
And Dune.
Yeah.
And Dune. Yeah, it's like a pretty hilarious combination of the two of these things, and the shorthand that they're able to use from like the vehicles, the design, the look and feel of the cars, but then also this combination of like hard rock, like metal music at the same time.
Yes.
It's like this very unique design, visual look and feel combination that they've managed to merge between these different worlds.
Yeah, I think it also shines a light at how iconic those properties are in those terms,
Yeah.
like with the costuming and set design as well as music.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of take it for granted a little bit, and when you see it parodied in this movie, you just kind of realize how much of an imprint it left.
Oh, yeah.
What did you guys think of the actual car? It almost looks like kind of blended with some Tesla what is it? Cybertruck?
Cybertruck.
Yeah. Cybertruck qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely reminded me of the Cybertruck, but like if it was made in like 1994 and like souped up or modified somehow. But my guess is it was designed that way to like achieve the cannon roll as best as possible, like to be really efficient for that stunt.
I would really recommend watching the Peacock original series called Action, which goes over different aspects of the stunt industry, and it has 3 episodes dedicated to the Fall Guy.
Oh, cool.
I'm speaking for myself here, but I grew up loving special features on DVDs. Cody used to make fun of me about it.
Yeah.
You know what? It wasn't. No.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, set us straight here.
It was not special features. I love special features. What I would always make fun of you for was commentaries.
Oh, yeah. You were the commentary king.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that. That's true. But I will say that this series was incredibly insightful and interesting. You get to meet the stuntmen behind the stuntmen of this movie.
Cool.
And once again, you just get an appreciation for the amount of work that went into each of these stunts. It's a really great series. I would highly recommend checking it out.
Awesome.
So going back a little bit, I wonder if the design of this car had anything to do with like how easily it could fall apart during the roll.
Yeah. When it does the, what is it, 8.5 rolls?
Uh-huh.
It, what it ends up being at the end, just like a trash heap, just completely totaled. It looks
shredded.
like nobody could have survived that.
Yeah,
right.
It's really incredible. It's like hard to tell it was even a car.
Yeah.
It goes the extra mile in terms of like really landing that humor when he sticks his thumbs up out of the window at the end of it from like all this wreckage.
So, Cody, I think a big part of this scene and the movie in general is this idea that it takes place on a really busy, well-funded movie set. And with your experience in the film industry, how would you say the verisimilitude of the movie reflected actually being on a movie set?
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say is that I'm in post production, so I don't spend a ton of time on set on the sets that I have been on. I think what I could say is that I think it really gets the feel and the energy of a set right without bogging down the viewer in too much of that on-set parlance and detail. It's just enough to give you a taste of it, but it's definitely a caricature of what a real set is actually like. These characters are having all these side conversations and monologuing and it's it would it would never operate that way. It's like we have a schedule to keep. You know, the first AD would be stepping in there, but and then of course you get the huge faux pas of Gosling crashing into the camera and they lose their hero cam. So yeah, that's definitely a big no-no.
Yeah, that seems like it would have been like a huge setback for them.
What did they say at the moment? It's like, that was my Hall H.
Yeah, like the Comic-Con shot. Yeah.
Maybe this would be a good time to also ask you, Connor, can you tell us a little bit about your thoughts on the Fall Guy logo?
Yeah, sure. So the logo's pretty fun, and you know, everybody who's listening can look it up or even look at the artwork for the show. But we have these really tall letters stacked on top of each other, the Fall Guy. So obviously, like, those condensed letters are going to be really tall, and that kind of simulates the height that our stunt person would maybe be falling from, like we see in the opening sequence of this film. And we see, I think it's Ryan Gosling kind of falling down from the back. So it's that nice like visual pun, and it really gives a sense of danger, but also lets you know this is an action film at the same time. I think it plays on those action film stunt driven titles and movie posters that we're all familiar with, like big bold letters, Fast and the Furious, those kind of movies. So again, like a nice tongue in cheek reference to the genre there.
Yeah.
And I think equally important, I have to pick your brain a little bit about the Metal Storm logo, which is hilariously featured all throughout the movie, from like the tents to like the crew wearing jackets with the logo. You kind of see it everywhere.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Like, there's a pretty obvious reference to Metallica with that M and the style of the letters. I think we all kind of get that like heavy metal sort of vibe of the logo. But I don't know if you guys noticed it throughout the movie. Like you said, people are wearing that logo on their shirts and on, like, you know, the kind of gear that they're wearing. But then later during the Comic-Con showing at the very end of the film, I think the trailer has like different branding of the logo, different title treatment. So it's like a good self-reference to, you have like kind of a working logo, working title during production, and then obviously the marketing department's like working on it for that big release for the trailer. So that was a nice nod to the reality of the industry at the same time. I thought that was a clever detail.
That's great.
Couple kind of cool little costuming things here. I mean, there are some really interesting costumes all throughout the film. I mean, in the scene, one thing I really liked that sold a lot of detail in character work and the chemistry between the two characters was the sun hat, you know, like the big gardening hat.
Oh, yeah.
Just Gosling kind of falling right back into his old way with his ex-girlfriend, quickly cinching up the drawstring at the bottom of the hat, you know, without saying anything, as if he would have if they were still dating. And it kind of just lets you as a viewer know what they had before, and sells those sparks. And, you know, then she gives the line, "It's a set thing, you know, everyone's wearing them," which is funny. Like, if you watch the Mad Max Fury Road behind the scenes, you're probably seeing everyone wearing these sun hats.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
One other interesting thing, and I may be reading into things a little bit too much, but Emily Blunt is wearing a pink jumpsuit in this movie, and she's obviously the director of Metal Storm. And I couldn't help but think that it was maybe a slight nod to Greta Gerwig, who wore something similar while directing the movie Barbie. Do you guys think there's any connection there?
Oh, yeah. I think Emily Blunt has said that in an interview or two
really?
that I've read, that Greta Gerwig was an inspiration for the way that she carried her character a little bit in this film, the way that she's directing.
Cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think Gerwig had, was it Friday? I think it was Pink Fridays. It's like everyone on set would wear pink on Friday.
That's fun. Cool.
That's great.
Moving on a little bit, there's a couple of great shots in this sequence, this scene that we're covering. And one kind of stood out for me in particular. I think it was a good way to introduce the chaoticness of the set and just film life in general. There's a one-take shot that we start this scene with that shows the on-set dilemmas. What did you guys think of this shot?
I think, again, it gives a really good feel for the sheer amount of decisions a director has to make minute to minute while being on set.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one department head after another. It's a very good feel for how many decisions need to be rapidly made.
You know, it's interesting. I looked at that and you see the costumer come over and wanting to make changes to the wardrobe to make it look more real. You see the screenwriter trying to make changes to the third act, all while Emily Blunt is trying to direct different people in different departments. It also kind of just made me think that for a podcast that breaks down specific scenes, you wonder how much of those decisions were premeditated versus decisions that they had to make on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something like in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's controlled chaos for sure.
And she keeps her cool the whole time throughout all of this chaos, which I
Yeah,
thought
she
was a
does.
really nice depiction of the character and what kind of person she is. Another thing I really loved about the visual storytelling in this scene is the relationship between Emily Blunt's character and Ryan Gosling's character. How they just keep inadvertently missing each other. Ryan Gosling's trying to go up to her and then just misses her. Or there's this other sequence, the key moment of the scene where they finally meet again after all this time has passed. They see each other again for the first time. And it's like we're living this moment with them beat by beat. Everything slows down. It's got this buttery slow-mo feel to it. We cut to Blunt and she's like wide-eyed, almost like slowly blinking her eyes. And then there's a slam cut to whose idea was this? It's very funny.
It's a great example of how the film isn't afraid to play on the tropes of all these different film genres and honor them and yet subvert them. It's pretty cool.
I think there's one shot in particular too where Emily Blunt's character is in focus and she's talking to the first AD, and you actually see the stunt car pull into frame out of focus with Ryan Gosling hopping out of the car ready to talk to her before she walks off frame. So it just kind of shows that out of sync nature of their relationship visually.
Right, right.
So at the core of this film, obviously it's our stunts team, and surrounding that are the performances of the film. Let's first just talk about some of those stunt performers. First off, Logan Holiday. He was a stunt performer and mostly in the car for Gosling.
Wow. Okay.
So he was the one in the car for the cannon roll. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in that Peacock series action, you actually watch him prepare for this stunt. And it was really interesting. I think he performed it around 4 to 5 times. And what it made me appreciate was how minute the differences were and how big of a difference in the result there was. For instance, the timing of when he deployed the cannon mechanism, if he waited like a second longer after he abruptly turned the wheel of the car to press the button, it would lead to a completely different result.
Wow.
And so I think it just shows how much intuition it takes to get the end result. You don't really think of it that way because a lot of it is controlled, but there is some variability there, and it takes, years of experience to make it look right.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, incredible job. That is such a mind-blowing stunt that he pulled off, that he helped pull off.
Yeah, and another fun fact is that Logan Holiday, the stunt performer, he's actually the actor in the movie that straps Gosling into the car, and he even pats him on the back at the end of the scene for the stunt that he just performed, which is kind of
cool.
funny.
That's a great Easter egg.
Yeah. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't also mention stunt performers Justin Eaton, Troy Lindsay Brown, and Ben Jenkin, who were other stunt doubles for Gosling and alongside Logan Holiday, made this all come to life.
Yeah, just an incredible team.
Yeah.
So, Mark, obviously, I know you're a huge fan of Ryan Gosling, as we all are.
Mhm.
Were there any standout lines or things that he said during this scene that you really loved?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on in this scene in terms of his charisma, but I think one obviously comedic moment is when he tells Emily Blunt's character, that she looks good in everything. And then, he realizes that may be too forward or suggestive. And so then he says, "You look good in nothing." And then he realizes that, that's even worse.
Even more suggestive.
Right. Yeah. I just love that play, and he delivers that perfectly.
Blunt is so good in this scene too. Just like, obviously she has a lot of intense feelings around this situation that they're in, and the way that she can play that with such subtlety through this sequence, the way she kind of has these micro reactions to each goofy thing that Ryan Gosling's character is saying, it just really helps sell this moment between them.
Right. She's conflicted because she obviously had feelings for him. It sounded like it ended abruptly for her, and she didn't really work things out mentally on how things ended. And then all of a sudden he's here, and she's also tasked with this giant production. And so there's obviously a lot of conflict there, and I think it makes for a good movie premise.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have some side characters who are really great in the film. Winston Duke as Dan Tucker, the stunts coordinator in the film.
Yeah, he's like the ultimate hype man, just keeping Gosling accountable and calling him out for stalling and like forcing him into the car at one point.
Yeah. I also really enjoyed the repeating movie quote motif that they had. I think in this scene, he quotes one of the Fast and the Furious movies with whether an inch or a mile, a win is a win.
I think that was such a nice way to show how much everybody has a deep love for stunt work and movies based in stunt work. They all just speak it as this shorthand or this language. Another character I really loved was Adam Dunn as Nigel, the AD, and the way that he talks to the pyrotechnics team.
What does he say? "I will gut you like the pig that you are."
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
it.
really
Brutal.
Wow, brutal. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's move on to sound, which I think also plays a critical role in enveloping this idea of being on a movie set with the use of walkie-talkie audio. It really does make you feel like you're on set. You hear a lot of people communicating this way, and you kind of hear one layer of walkie-talkie starting to disappear, and then the next layer, and then all you're keyed in on is the director saying action. And that's when, he starts the stunt. I thought that was a really great use of sound.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. The storytelling mechanic between the sound and visuals, I really loved in the scene as he's about to launch into this stunt. You hear the walkie go, "Engaging cannon now, charging the cannon, 2000 PSI." And it kind of is informational in a way because it's priming you for what a cannon roll is without just explaining it straight up. So just kind of a cool detail.
Yeah. And the fact that we're only really hearing natural sound when that car begins to roll, to do that cannon roll, it's not really like anything we've seen on the big screen before. It's just front and center. Here's the stunt, behind the scenes, raw footage. Just seeing it for what it is and really letting that stunt be the key piece of this entire scene. I mean, it's really incredible. It gives it the space that it deserves.
Yeah, and then I think when score is utilized in the scene, it really gives this action scene momentum to drive it forward. There's this great little sting moment when he does smash into the camera. There's just this little kind of downward hit in the music that indicates, oh shit, we've lost camera. That was actually a really big deal.
Right.
So that was kind of a nice touch. And then of course we have all these explosions dynamically going off next to Gosling and just popping to the right and to the left. Just a lot of variable mixing and sound effects happening in the scene to make it feel action heavy, stunt heavy, and complement the visual stunt work that we're seeing.
Yeah, it's an absolutely incredible stunt in a movie full of absolutely incredible boundary pushing stunts. It broke a world record, and it is well worth seeing just for this stunt alone. I think the other thing that was very cool about this is the end credits film. I absolutely love to see the behind the scenes film footage of all the stunts being performed, the after sequences where the stunt performers were like giving a thumbs up or coming out of the stunt that they just performed, it just gave me that extra level of appreciation for all the work and dedication that went into the craft of this film. And to be honest, there is so clearly a love for stunt work that is poured into every frame of this. It's well worth seeing. So go check it out, show up and support the film. I think it's one of those films that I could recommend to anyone. It's a true crowd pleaser. Go see The Fall Guy in theaters now.
Yeah, absolutely, Connor. So much fun. And now that we have broken down the cannon roll scene in detail, we'd like to welcome on our guest, Stunt Coordinator Keir Beck, for his pro take on The Fall Guy.
Amateur or professional?
Professional.
Keir, thank you so much for joining us here on Scenecraft to talk about stunts on The Fall Guy.
Wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here.
So as this is the pro take section of the podcast, we would love to do a brief introduction on the role of the stunt coordinator in the filmmaking process. Would you mind telling us a little bit about how you first started in stunts and then moved into coordination on top of performing?
My background was from arboriculture, so I was an arborist originally. All through the 90s, I kind of climbed trees to earn enough money to go off and climb rocks and mountains.
Wow.
Sort of around the world. And then towards the end of the 90s, I bumped into a friend of mine who had just finished working on the Matrix film, the first Matrix. So she was like, "Oh, when are you going to be a stuntman at school?" And I was like, "I was." So that kind of prompted me to sort of put on my pads, so to speak, and move to Queensland and get into the film industry. So I started out as a performer, as a stunt performer, and then I moved on to sort of, there was the Matrix was the birth of sort of, stunt rigging in Western film predominantly. So I kind of walked into it at a good time where rigging was a new thing, and I'd been already climbing trees and sort of rigging myself to rocks and mountains and bits and pieces. So the rigging then was a natural evolution for me to be able to rig stunts and rig my own stunts and then rig stunts for actors. Sort of my career just went from, being a stunt guy to a stunt rigger to then being able to coordinate the rigging sequences and then moving on to then coordinating, bigger sequences and all types of genre of film and stunts. So that's kind of my background in a nutshell.
Very cool.
Amazing. Really cool.
Can you speak a little bit about the preparation that goes into creating a stunt sequence, all the way back from planning the stunt to the actual execution on set?
Nowadays, with stunt work, and I've kind of, over my 25 years of being in the industry, I have noticed that it's been, in the old days, it was kind of like you would walk into a space, go, "We want a guy to go from here to there," and you'd sort of like rough it out and work it out as you went. But now it's with the way they shoot stunts and with the action that, the action keeps escalating as far as I want bigger and faster and higher and wider and everything. So nowadays the process it's a lot of talking to and liaising with locations departments, with local city councils, with engineers, with property owners. It might be heritage societies, for example, to get permission to work on structures and whatnot. So it's a lot more complicated than what it used to be. So I guess you get given a sequence to design or do, and you go, okay, well, where's the location? Okay, the location is tricky, so you need to, work in with engineers and the people that run the locations to be able to say, well, we want to do this in your venue, and they'll usually their first reaction is, "Oh my God, that's so dangerous," or that still here. So so you kind of work around those problems, and you negotiate and then reassure and then negotiate and then reassure and then show them. And then I guess once you get to the stunt side of the the equation, it's all about step progression to ease into the action, to show that there is a methodical system that you're putting in place to evolve the action to what it needs to be for on the day when you shoot it. So it can be quite complicated.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys just keep one-upping yourselves. It is amazing. And speaking of, one huge achievement with this film was the setting of a new world record, the most cannon rolls in a car, with a staggering 8.5 rolls. And interestingly, the previous record was 7 rolls, and it was featured in 2006's Casino Royale, which was another production you were involved with. Can you tell us about this 8.5 roll achievement? And for those who don't know, what is a cannon roll?
Great. A cannon roll, for those who aren't familiar with it, is basically a stunt where a car has had a cannon, like a ram that's put in the underneath of it, which is usually run by pneumatics, high pressure. And to make the car roll, the driver has to turn the steering wheel either left or right, and then hit a button that then activates the ram to flip the car into a roll. So it's done without ramps basically. So we can do it on a flat surface on a road, or like on the Forgo, we did it on a beach, which, when we first sort of spoke about it, everyone was like, oh my goodness, okay, we've got to deal with a brand new location to do a cannon roll. And certainly to attempt a world record like we did in an environment that we had no idea how it was going to respond to the cars, to the car preparation. So, to enable us to do that, we had several rehearsal vehicles. Logan Halliday, who drove the car, would have feedback with special effects, and then Chris O'Hara and myself would be there to supervise and monitor the progress of how the beach looked. Some days it was wavy because the currents and the tides were making the beach look a bit different. Sometimes the sand was too soft, but luckily on the day it was absolutely perfect. So the outcome, on the day, with the combination of Logan's feedback with special effects and special effects working closely with stunts and the locations people to, groom the beach, prep the car, and have Logan in a position that he could drive the vehicle to be able to do the 8.5 rolls was, I think we rehearsed 3 times. The first take on the day was a little bit average, and then we went back and did it again, and the beach was perfect, and, just all came together.
Wow. Congratulations.
Nice. Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Honestly. So you had touched on this a little bit, talking about the difficulty around just managing the locations process, but could you discuss the collaboration between the stunt team and other departments for us, such as direction, cinematography, special effects, and the stunt performers themselves? What does a typical meeting between all these departments look like?
You know what? It's a lot of people. That's the first thing. I guess because the Fall Guy was the focus and the energy was around the stunt performance and the stunt action and the sequences. So, typically it is a very close collaboration between all of the departments, and we're talking about construction, early days, how sets are built, talking to them about our requirements for it might be as simple as make sure that this part of the set has a removable panel for a breakaway set piece to be put in for later on in the sequence, or it might be, talking to the lighting department to make sure that the lighting grid has space for us to put wires down through it, or to build another truss grid inside that lighting grid without moving the lights or the set piece to be able to do wire work. We have to liaise with the wardrobe department to let them know that the performer's got a harness on, so we've got to cut holes in the wardrobe, which that's a red flag if the wardrobe's expensive or they only have one set of it. So there is it's a hugely logistical thing when you're dealing with all the departments, because you can't leave anyone out. There's vehicles, there's we might need a roll cage, we might need a pneumatic handbrake put into a vehicle. There's a lot of people that are involved, and so I suppose as far as at a meeting, you got to go around piece by piece with each department to hear what their requirements are, and then working with them to make sure that our requirements also fit in, that we're not losing anything or missing something out, or a department's getting stitched up, so to speak, because we're not accommodating to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what a ton of people aren't necessarily aware of when watching a film, especially like this. Just that level of communication required to pull this off. It's really impressive. And clearly that communication was crucial when working with Ryan Gosling on the opening fall sequence of the film. How did you work with Ryan on that stunt?
Yeah, so that That stunt is in the opening of the film, where they do a sequence with Ryan sort of coming from the bottom of the building all the way up to the lift to the platform where we attach him and then lower him out into space and drop him. So, in the film, it takes a few minutes to see that and to show it. But the reality of a sequence like that is it takes months of preparation. It's a very, for Ryan to walk into a new group of stuntmen on the floor for the first day and shake everyone's hands, for him, it's like, I don't know any of these guys.
Right.
I was lucky. I worked with him on The Nice Guys, so I had a head start with Ryan. So it really, but it still starts again from scratch. So we start with a step progression where we'll go, hey, we need to put you in a harness. We'd like to just test you how it feels. So we hang him up a meter off the ground, sit him in his harness. This is the position you'll be in. Then, next week we're going to have a crane set up in a car park and we're going to do some, some low high falls with you on the wire rig to test everything, get you comfortable. So you start 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet.
Wow.
It's a step progression that does two things, which is one, it teaches us about the rig, and then we can start to design and implement the system that we need to have for the real scale stunt. We can rehearse that in a car park outside with cranes and set it up. But it also, the more important thing is that we can step progress Ryan to be able to feel comfortable and trust us. So and the only way you can gain trust is by a step progression. You can't just get a lead actor and say, hey, tomorrow we're going to 150 foot off a building and we're going to hang you in space, see how you feel,
right?
Tell us if you're comfortable or not, because I think if you did that, you lose rapport very quickly because they're anxious about the height, not really caring about what you're saying. So step progression is our friend, and it takes months and months. And then on the day, he walked into that sequence and put his glasses on to hide the fear of his eyeballs, and he went ahead and did it.
In a similar kind of vein to that, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of preparation that goes into each and every stunt, but I'm curious if there was a most challenging stunt that you had to coordinate for the Fall Guy.
I went through the whole show going, if I can just get through this week, I'll be right. And I get to the next week, I'm out. Just get through this week. I think there was a lot of the sequences were fairly technical. Probably one of the biggest ones was the bin truck sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So that again was a sequence that took months of preparation, months of dealing with the Sydney City Council, the Harbour Bridge Authority, the Port Authority, the main roads departments, CASA, the airspace to clear the helicopters and drones, and then also the truck itself with rehearsing and then again building Ryan up to being able to be on the rubbish bin lid, skidding down the road, at 60 kilometers an hour behind a garbage truck.
Oh, yeah.
On the day in a very narrow window of time. So that particular sequence wasn't a sequence that had any margin for error as far as timing and the way we executed the stunt work, and also the collaboration between, David directing the sequence, the film crew and the stunt department all merging to be able to pull it off, on the day, on time.
Yeah. Wow. I can't imagine.
Wow.
In a movie that's just full of amazing stunt sequences, this might be a hard question to answer, but do you have a favorite stunt sequence from the entire film?
You know what? I actually do. There's a jump that Ryan, he's driving, he jumps onto a camera arm on a vehicle, and then the vehicle then skids to a stop and he jumps off it and grabs the skid of a helicopter. And I think even though that was a relatively small stunt, we shot it in an afternoon, the jump from the camera arm to the helicopter. I think sometimes when you have a vision and you can see the vision in your mind about how something should look as far as a rigging evolution, the rig took, on screen you would never know, but the rig took 7 stunt riggers.
Wow. And
about 5 or 6 special effects people. So there's like 14 people involved.
Oh my gosh.
Plus Ryan on this camera arm. So you can imagine on a 3, 2, 1 go count that 14 people have to do their little piece of the pie to create this simple piece of action to happen. So when you're thinking about a piece of action and you can sort of like, when nothing's there, there's no cranes, there's no helicopter, and you're kind of trying to imagine, okay, the trajectory from a moving arm to a skid of a helicopter, how does that look in your mind? And then when on the day we did it, I could stand back where I stood months earlier with nothing there and see exactly that image. And when I watched it on the day, it almost perfectly overlaid with the image I had in my head. So I was kind of chuffed about that because
That's great.
There was so much preparation and so many people involved that you could just keep doing it because someone would get a little piece of timing wrong or not quite be there on the day. And then and then there would be an anomaly, you know what I mean? You'd see something happen that doesn't quite look like it's natural. But on the day, it's so great. I mean, you'll see it in the movie and you'll just go, yeah, that looks like it's just real, which is the art of really good collaboration and wire work and stunts.
That's incredible. We were also curious, there has been a lot of support throughout the industry, especially recently, to introduce an Academy Award category for stunts. What do you think that extra recognition could do for stunt teams?
I'm not being biased because I'm a stunt performer and a coordinator, but I think that the Academy should have a recognition for stunts in films. I mean, I'm not downgrading any other departments, but they have it for wardrobe, they have it for other.
Right.
You think, well, but realistically, when you watch films and you sit down and you see action, someone out there has busted their ass to get that done. You know what I mean? And it's not just one person, it's a team of people. The audience doesn't realize the training and the time and the sweat and tears that stunt people put into their craft to just do a little piece of action in a movie. That little piece of action could be the background of that could be 10, 15, 20 years of training as a martial artist, someone with a specialty.
Oh, yeah.
And to not get recognized, to not have at least a say or mention or an award for, the collaborative efforts for stunt design in film I don't think people realize how much work and effort goes into our trade.
Well, as big movie and stunts fans, we're really hoping that it is introduced in the coming years. Fingers crossed, especially to recognize top tier stunts like in The Fall Guy. So thank you so much for making time to talk with us today and for making movies that much better. Huge congratulations to you and your team.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Amazing chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Keir.
Thank you again to Keir Beck for his pro take on The Fall Guy. And thank you to our listeners and fellow movie enthusiasts for reliving this scene with us. Do you have a favorite scene from The Fall Guy? You can email us at contact@scenecraftpodcast.com with any of your thoughts or comments, or follow us on Instagram, X, TikTok, or Threads @Scenecraft Podcast for any scheduling updates and news. You can support the podcast by leaving us a review or star rating on your platform of choice. A very special thanks to Jordan Summerlad for our theme music. This has been Scenecraft, where we break down the craft behind our favorite scenes. See you all next time.